Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Outsourcing with Bill. In the first episode, I talked about why OEMs outsource, and it's not cost. If you want to check that out, it's on my YouTube channel. Go check it out. Today's episode is for both OEMs and suppliers, and we're going to talk about the difference between value and cost, and specifically what the equation is for value, right? So the equation for value is pretty straightforward. It's value is equal to benefit minus cost. Pretty straightforward. But applying this is not exactly easy, and communicating it is even more difficult, right? So value is not a one-size-fits-all, which means the benefits column is very difficult to nail down if you don't know who you're dealing with, right? So benefits could be cost savings, it could be dollar value assigned to speed to market, it could be risk avoidance or mitigation, etc. And so dollarizing the value or dollarizing the benefit is typically seen as the golden standard because most people see value, they think of the dollar, which isn't always the case. I mean, that's not 100% true, but most of the time that's what people think of when they think of value. So when considering value, OEMs specifically need to take a couple of steps. First of all, they need to understand both sides of the equation, right? What's the benefit that they're looking for in dealing with this particular supplier? What are they hoping to get out of this relationship? What's valuable to the OEM? Is it speed? Is it focus, flexibility, expertise, low drag, a combination of all those things, something else? You need to understand what is benefit to you, what's value to you as an OEM. You also need to understand the cost, and this is where a lot of people goof up, right? They think, oh, well, the cost is whatever the supplier's charging me, but it's not. There's costs that are in the price of the engagement, not just the dollar per hour or the fixed price cost of the actual contract, but there's also costs for engagement, like drag, invoices not being right, cost of poor quality, maybe something's wrong. You got to do a lot of back and forth. You got to chase 6 different people to get answers on your project. I mean, this is all drag, and those are all costs that are escalating inside of your organization. So something that initially looks cheap because you evaluate it on a dollar per hour basis is now ballooning because you have to have your people fixing problems, chasing people down, and trying to get invoices correct. And it creates a drag on your organization where the cost is now out of line. And if you're only looking at the cost of the engagement, you're going to miss those. And again, it's going to hurt you. The typical benchmark for OEMs, in my experience in the technical services space, is typically, because so many projects are time and material, the benchmark, the easy one, is dollar per hour. And you got to be careful with that because again, it ignores those other value factors, both from the benefit side and from the cost side to the OEM. So really the benchmark should strive to be value per dollar spent versus dollar per hour. That's way easier said than done, but again, the golden standard for that would be if you can figure out what value you're gaining for every dollar that you're spending. That's really the ticket right there. So that's what you should be trying to look at. Now for suppliers, you also need to consider a couple things. You also need to understand both sides of that equation, right? So what's valuable, what's benefit, what's cost? What benefits are you looking for as a supplier? What benefits are you providing to that OEM? And make sure that you understand what the OEM finds valuable, because if you try to tell them that, oh man, we offer great speed, and they're not concerned about speed, it's going to fall on deaf ears. We'll talk about that more in another episode. So as you guys are looking through this from a supplier standpoint, make sure that you are looking at this beyond a transactional business model. I'm going to charge an hour for every hour of work that gets done. Like, these transactional business models are going to be a race to the bottom. If you act as a commodity, you're going to be treated as a commodity, and you're going to lose a lot of ability to provide real value by acting in that manner. So again, as you evaluate what's important to your OEM, you need to figure out, can you dollarize that benefit? Is there a way for you to determine how many dollars you are providing to them for the investment? Right? You want the OEM to see their relationship with you as an investment, not as a cost. And the only way that happens is if the benefit is way bigger than the cost. And if you don't know what your OEM is looking for, what they find valuable, it's pretty easy, ask them. And it may vary by engagement, by the way, depending on what department you're dealing with, depending on who your stakeholders are, they may see things differently. So make sure you understand that dynamic and are constantly evaluating that against what you're providing and what you're communicating. And then also, again, one that I think a lot of suppliers miss is, what are your costs of doing business with this particular OEM? Are they low drag or are they high drag? There's some customers that can be a real challenge to deal with. You got to understand that, so be sure you're looking at that. So to wrap this all up, value in technical outsourcing services, there is a lot of value there, but articulating that value is particularly challenging, especially because most of the people in the space, including myself, are technical based. So communicating to different stakeholders like purchasing or business people is not usually our first line of defense, right? That's not usually something that we're very strong at to begin with. So articulating the value that we're providing is challenging. But real quick, suppliers, know what you bring to the table and understand what value is to the OEM that you're dealing with. And OEMs, also, you guys need to know what's important to you and work to fully understand the entire cost of your relationship with each of your suppliers. And I promise you're going to get more benefit out of it. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll do another episode later.